Critter Trades here, and today I'm going to be showing you what might be causing a noisy rear end or a loud vibration or humming noise on your Subaru. So there's a handful of things that might be causing your noise in the rear end, and I'm going to go over which ones it's most likely to be and which ones it might not be, but is also something to look out for that could be making noise. And these are really common issues on these cars, on the Crosstrek, the Impreza specifically. I've heard of them having these issues on the Outbacks, Foresters as well, so it's pretty common among most Subarus. And the noise that I'm talking about is when you're driving, it's a whir or a hum that's constant in the back end of the car. The faster you go, usually the louder it gets. So the very first thing that Subaru dealers are going to tell you it's the wheel bearings, because they make a lot of noise back here. They're known to fail pretty early. Some of these cars have them fail as soon as like 30,000 miles. So that's what the dealer is going to tell you. If they do tell you it's the wheel bearings and you do decide to change those out, make sure you get the updated backer plate, because that's most likely what is actually the problem. On the Crosstreks and Imprezas, there's a technical service bulletin, a TSB, for the backing plate, and the backing plate kind of sits on the other side of the wheel bearing, and the old backer plate caused a lot of vibration, and they updated it so that it was much less vibration. So it might not even be the wheel bearings, but to change out the backer plate they have to pull the wheel bearings out anyways. Just make sure, if you do that, just make sure you get the updated backer plate, because if they put the old backer plate on, or the old model of the backer plate, it's going to vibrate again very quickly. So again, if you do that, make sure you get the updated backer plate, and that is a very common problem on these cars. So that is most likely what the noise is from the rear. A few other things that is very common: the brake pads, they sit in these slides here, and when the pistons pull them in, they have to be able to be freely moving, or else they'll pinch on and hold the brakes on. These cars, especially in the rear, are known to have the brakes get stuck on. And the reason they get stuck on is because the back part of the plate, there's a metal on the back of the brake pads, and that can get rusty, and when it gets rusty it expands, and so it gets pinched in here. When the pistons pull the brake pads in to have your brakes work, they get stuck on, and so you'll get a lot of noise from them if that happens. The easy way to fix it is you take these bolts off to pull your caliper. You'll have to pry the pads out if they're clipped, and it's very obvious to know if they're getting stuck in here, because you'll have to use a screwdriver to pull them out. They should slide in and out freely when you slide them in to these clips here. What you can do is you can take a file and file off the rust, especially where the little end pieces go in here, and then they'll slide freely in and out. So that's a super common problem on these cars. You can also check the parking brake, because the parking brakes can swell up, and you can check them in here. This hole needs to be down here, so you can rotate your wheels to make sure this is in the right spot. And there's a spring in there, and you can use a flat bladed screwdriver to turn it to adjust the parking brake. And again, sometimes the parking brakes swell up or get a little rusty, and so it could be constantly wobbling. And most of these Subarus have the parking brake on both sides, so check to make sure your parking brake isn't too tight, and you can adjust it through here. If either of those solutions don't fix it, just put in your earplugs and keep driving. The other thing it could be is the rear differential, which distributes power to the two rear wheels. Those can become noisy and whiny over time as well, especially if you've been late on your fluid changes like me. So that's something to check out. It's much less likely than the other options. It's most likely the backer plates on the wheel bearings or the wheel bearings themselves, but this gives you a few ideas to check before you do need to replace your wheel bearings. A lot of things like the brake pads and the parking brake are pretty easy to check out, and if you're having some issues in the back anyways, it's not a bad idea to check those out to make sure they're working properly. If you found this helpful, please check out some of my other stuff. I do a lot of Subaru content, winter driving, fluid film, long-term comparisons tests, that sort of stuff, so check it out, and thanks for watching.